Hi, I'm Lynne with Softsquares. Today is December 23rd, which means we have this for the B box and we have 10 for the A box. Let's open these and see what we have. This is my daily Advent unboxing opening video series. I put out 2 Advents, so if this is your first time stumbling across those, just know I put out 2 amazing Advent boxes, and this is the opening box series for the whole year of 2025, and it started December 1st. We're also doing pre-orders for the 2026 boxes. You could do a deposit and make payment options, or you can just buy that right, but the link and all that information is at softsquares.com. So what is in day 10 of the A box is this. And I hope my paper is in here. There we go. Sometimes they cling. This is a simple and fun way to make a tote bag. This Quilt As You Go project calls for a jelly roll, but you can use any strips of fabric that are 2.5. Try it with fat quarters. Just follow the instructions and you will have a quilted tote in no time. I have a tutorial that will follow at the end of this video where I made my bag, and it is so cute. This is my bag. And it is adorable. It is fun. There's a tutorial on how to do it. And I went a little step further and I actually boxed the edges. The pattern doesn't have you doing that. It's super easy to do. And I also put a big lined pocket on the inside. And I used fat quarters. This whole thing was made with fat quarters. So there's my bag. This is what it is. It is called the Sophie Tote by June Taylor. And you just basically have a pre-printed piece of batting here, and you have your handles. So that's going to be enclosed in fabric, which is what I've done on mine. So it gives them some durability. And you are going to lay your pieces out and follow the order. It tells you 1, 2, 3, 4, and you just put them down and you hold it as you go. And when you're done, you line it and you put your handles on and you're done. And all that in your instructions that are right here. This is a lot of fun. Again, my tutorial for this will be at the end of this video. And let's see what the elf has to say about this one. Day 8 for A. Oh, this looks very interesting. Time to dig into your stash and make it your own. Go to Softsquares Facebook page when you finish, take a pic, and post to show us how creative you all are. So Elf wants to see how you made yours. I do too. I do too. All right, so there's that. Now let's move on to B23. I bet you can guess what this could be. I see a charm pack and some crazy paper. So the crazy quilt paper is 5x5 pieces, and there's just these 3 sizes on there. And I'm going to show you how to use that. Super easy. And then we have this by Benetech's Patriotic. Does it say on here? That's so weird. It doesn't say the name on here, unless I'm just not seeing it. It's Patriotic pack, and it has all of these in there. So the paper on here says, let's hear it for the red, white, and blue. This charm pack makes it easy to get coordinating prints into one project. This crazy paper will make it super easy to make a crazy block project. You can choose to add additional fabric to your project top or only use the charm pack. I will also show you a tutorial at the end of this video on how to use these papers. Really super easy. So this is one of those days where you get double tutorials. So they'll be in order. A will come first and then B. So let's see what the elf has to say about B. Oh my, what a cute item. Are you ready for the 250th birthday of our country? What food item will you eat on July 4th, 2026? That is so far away, but you know what? Everything comes so fast. I bet it's really not as far away. Come the middle of May, we might go, wow, it's coming up. Let's give our ball and see what our daily number is for bingo. I-29. That's your bingo number for the bingo card that came in your B box day 1. And if you want to play bingo, grab a bee box if you don't have one, and you have until the 26th to email your card into me with 2 bingos on it. And on the 27th, which is this coming Saturday, I will do on my stitch-uation a live drawing taken from all those entries from the emails, and pick 2 people to get 27-inch flat screen TVs that we will ship out to you. Let's talk about the quilt that's behind me. This is an applique project. It's another work in progress. I did a tutorial on this, and this is all the farther I got. And again, I have not been able to pick up and finish it. What it needs is a blanket stitch to go around everything. It comes out of this box, which is something we have at the store. These are applique blocks. There's a whole bunch of different box sets, and most of them are pieced. This one is only applique. Now you're wondering, how do you get something that comes out this little to be that big? And by the way, you need to reverse the image unless you want it to be reversed like I did. So I actually have mine reversed because I didn't plan ahead, but it's cute. It's my own. So you have different ways you can make it. On the back of the cards, it has quadrants. And what you're going to do is you're going to follow the instructions on how to enlarge it to the size that you want. And then when you enlarge it, you're going to get copies. And then from there, you're going to trace those and put them on your fusible backing, and then put it on your pieces. So it's quite easy. And again, there is a video series, or not series, a tutorial on me making this, and it was really fun. Make it your own. Do whatever you want with it. I'm actually probably gonna hang a little wreath, not here, right here, because that's a lot of space, and I have these little tiny little wreaths I think would be super cute. So if it ends up being on a wall, I think I'll do that, but I'll make it so that it can come off, because it's an actual real wreath. Well, real plastic wreath. So anyway, this is done. I just need to top stitch everything, so you can see nothing is down. But that's how fun that is. So it came out of here. There's the box. There's 40 festive blocks, 8 seasonal layouts, and endless possibilities. So what they have in here is they have borders also. Like here's one that's a tile scene, and that uses a couple different ones. And this is the one that I made, which I'm choosing not to do that border because that's a lot of applique and I'm just not in the mood for it. So you can switch it up or leave it. And I haven't decided how I'm going to finish it. All of these they're subdivided. So all you do is copy it. So just and then here's your charts on how to do it. It really is pretty easy. And Mr. Fix-It has offered his services to anyone who would like him to enlarge it for you. He can enlarge the file and send it to you. All you have to do is print it out. Stick around for the tutorials. See you tomorrow. This quilt as you go, you just got in your daily opening, and this is batting that has lines printed on it, and all you do is sew on the line with your fabric on the other side. So I'm going to make mine right now, and so you can see how it comes together. It does come with instructions as well as a strap for your handle. Now it says it takes a jelly roll, but you know what? You can easily make this out of fat quarter because the bag itself is 15 by 14 by 4. So there's nothing longer or taller than what you could cut out of a fat quarter. Does that make sense? So this is what the bag will look like when you're done. So obviously if you have a jelly roll, this piece right here, you'd be piecing across the top because that is a wider piece. But let's see what it says. Now, I went through my stash of stuff and I found this jelly roll, which I really like because it has just 5 fabrics. There's not a ton of jumping around. I like it when it doesn't have as much to it. So anyway, there's 5 different prints here, and I also have it as a fat quarter. Now these I got from Tuesday Morning, which is no longer around, but it is a good quality fabric. It's called Quiltology. This is what the fabrics are that are in my bundle. I don't sell it, but I thought I'd show you what I'll be using. But this is a fat quarter, and why a fat quarter will work if you guys decide to not use jelly roll and just cut into your fat quarters. So this is 18 by 21, and obviously even the 18 this way is less than any of the finished sizes or dimensions of this bag. So you can just cut it up. Now I think I'll show you my fabrics just for fun because I have them. So we've got that one I just opened up. We have this pretty solid. I thought this would be really pretty to make into a bag. So I have the fat quarter bundle and you see the print on that one? And the jelly roll. And I am thinking I'm going to use the jelly roll, but then for the top band where it's a little wider, taking from here, I don't know. Let me look at this and see what I'm going to end up doing because I might just cut my strips from here. Now it says fabric is not included, obviously. The fabric requirements are you need 1 accent fabric at 1/4 of a yard each, which would be the top piece. It also looks like it's underneath on the strap. You see that? There's dark behind the pink on the strap. And I'm guessing it is that same fabric. It also might be just jelly roll strips, so we'll have to look at this closer. Anyway, you need a 1/4 yard each. So it says a 1/4 yard of 6 different fabrics, or, oh, guess what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fabrics. And these are fat quarters. That's still a 1/4 yard. Then I would just need 1 other fabric, which, I'll have to think about that. Or 10 2.5-inch strips from a jelly roll. You also need a 1/4 yard for the binding, and then 2/3 yard for lining. Okay, I just answered my question. I'm going to use this on the outside, this for the accent, as well as the binding and the lining. So my inside might be kind of pieced together, and I think it'll be fine. And maybe I'll even make a pocket, but I'm obviously going to mostly use all of this because it needs so much. The lining fabric alone, 2/3 of a yard, will be close to that. And this would be just the accent. And so anyway, yeah, that's mostly going to get used. We're going to take from here. So I'm going to come up with a secondary project for the rest of this. Okay, so here's our strap. So you can see by the picture that they have covered it. Now this is by June Taylor. It's a Quilt As You Go tote called the Sophie tote. And Quilt As You Go is super easy. It is this piece of batting that has printing on it. And you are literally quilting. You're going to lay your pieces down and sew on the line. So we're going to follow the instructions and you can sew along with me, but this is this is what it is. Of course, it's opened up, but it's a good size. It's a good size tote. I'm pretty excited I've done some Quilt As You Go stuff, but I haven't really done one like this. So this will be a lot of fun. All right, so it says you're going to select and cut your fabrics, attach backing fabric. So I have 505 spray that I'm going to use. You also can use your basting glue stick, although you're going to need it for some other projects, so I don't know if you really want to use it on this. You probably actually don't need it that much for this, but that's what I'm going to use if I need it. And then the third step is to sew by number. So cut, baste, do not touch iron directly on the raw batting. Good note to read and catch. So, by the way, do you see Mr. Fix-It in the background? Say hi, Mr. Fix-It.
Hi, Mr. Fix-It.
Please finger press. Okay, so you can use your seam roller or a press cloth that you'll put between the iron and this. So basically, just making sure you know not to press onto that. The batting, when the batting is covered with fabric, you may iron it safely. Lots of pieces to cut, so I'm going to get to that. And then it talks about the straps. So we're going to use 2 different colors to cover the straps and with the webbing, blah, 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 included in the package. So again, we've got that. Right, I have cut all of my pieces out. It took me some time because I wanted to make sure I was cutting out the pieces that I wanted that will go where I want them to go. So I was using this as a reference so I can see how they've got things laid out. And I only have 5 different fabrics with the collection that I'm using. So where they have got the pink right here, it's also the outer stripe on the handle. I pulled that one out completely, and that's going to be this dark green color. So that leaves me with 4 fabrics that I'm alternating through here. And then I picked a fat quarter of one of those fabrics and I'm putting it right here. Now I'm to the point, and I've cut everything else out, but now I'm to the point where I need my backing or the lining of my bag. And I'm still going to stick with these fat quarters. And on the instructions, it tells us we need a piece that's about 24 inches by 35. Well, 24 is kind of being generous, and we don't really need 24. Stick with that. So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to lay out what I want the inner to look like, the inside. But first, I want to let you know I have already taken my batting right here and I've trimmed it down. They suggest trimming it down to between 1/2 of an inch to 1 inch, giving you more space. I have more than that, but at least I don't have all the excess. And in the process, there are 2 straps. Oh my gosh, Lynn, 2 straps. And so I've got those batting pieces here. And then there's the actual webbing, which is here. So that's all put to the side. So what I'm doing right now is I'm laying out the fabric I want to use on the backing or the lining on top of my batting piece to make sure what I'm working with is big enough. And it is. This is why I know the fat quarter, which is 22 inches wide, is going to work when it's calling for 24 inches because I have got my batting cut with the extra, and even with that, I'm good with 22 inches. So that's my plan. So what I'm doing is I'm going to make it so when you look in the bag, it's kind of uniform on the inside. So I'm putting 1 fat quarter across the bottom and then one then I cut the other one in half and put it here. So you'll see the green band around the top part, and then the very bottom of the bag will be the darker fabric. And that green color is the same as what I'm putting on the band right here and on my outer strip. So it just depends on what you want to do, if you're going to put this much work into it or thought, but this is where I am and why I'm playing with what I have. So I thought since I am piecing together my inner piece, before I even start anything, I would let you see where I'm at with that. And then I'm also thinking I have this and this left over. I mean, I have a lot of strips, don't get me wrong, but as far as the fat quarter bundle, and maybe I will make a pocket or 2 for the inside of this. And then there's a lot of batting pieces left over from when I trimmed it down. So I'm thinking I will use batting instead of stabilizer in a pocket. And I'm going to use this on for my pocket. That is done. Pin or glue all loose pieces to the outside of the project to hold in place. Flip the project over so the backing side is up. Okay, the instructions tell us they want us to put the lining on before we sew it together, which means we're going to do like a basting stitch or pin it or glue something to put all this so it doesn't move, okay? But they're suggesting that once we're to that point where we're ready to trim it, that we're going to cut through both layers, but I can't see it because it's down here. But I also have fabric that's gone wider than that. I'm tempted to leave it just as big as it is. It is still really big. This is pretty easy, just not loving the way it's coming together. So I'm making sure that when I'm cutting, I'm making straight. I'm not even going to worry about this piece yet. I'm lining up this band on both sides so they are exactly together. What I'm going to do is, now I've got the two pieces matched up. They are matched up. It's just that pocket doesn't want to hold. They are matched up. So what I'm going to do now is trim them to be the same size. All right, so I had to kind of guess where the lines were. So I'm going to help you out just in case you get to this situation. So I had to peek inside there, which was in a bit, to see where the blue lines were, the original blue lines. And then I used this to cut through, and I have my lining and my top here. So what I did is I came down 1.5 inches from here to here, and then I went over 2 inches from here to here. I'm going to do the same thing over here, which means they're both going to be the same size, and it should be exactly what we need. So again, 1.5 inches up and 2 inches over. Let's get this so I have the right thing. Now what I'm going to do is open this up, stitch across here on both sides. It says to do a 1/2 inch quarter or a seam, and I did a 1/4 inch, so I actually have 2 seams right here because it is good to have a big one here. This is the lining, right? So when we do this, we make it so that this seam right here is in the center, and I'm not going to open it. I'm going to just press it to the side. This is the lining, so I'm not going to turn it out because we want it like that. I'm going to do the same here. I'm making sure that these are lined up. Watch, they'll so differently. Okay, same thing. That's not very pretty. But now, all right, same thing over here. Now, my bag is built on the outside. Now our lining goes on the inside. And the lining, I took a bigger seam allowance when I trimmed it or cut it, sewed it. So it would fit inside. That looks really cool. Look at that. There's our big pocket. It's quilted. It's on there really good. And if you were to do it the way they are saying to do it, you would just have this seam right here would have all of your fabric in it, and it would be on the inside of the back, which I did not want. But you would still end up with the top exposed and open like this. So I chose to not do an enclosed top because I wanted to go back to what the pattern was having us do. Does that make sense? So there's actually a binding that will go across the top. And this is just so cute. So the binding, I'm doing it in the same color as this, so you really don't see it, but that's going to go there. That's why I'm not worried about this. And then we're going to do our straps. And then the straps are, first of all, I have to join this binding. And then the straps, does this need to be more than one piece? Yeah, no. I don't know why. This will fit. This will work just fine. One piece. I only need one piece. So I'm going to put the binding on now because that's what it says to do before you even move on to the strap. So I'll come back with that. Gotta make sure it's straight. I am going to do just a straight stitch around here, where it's a basting stitch, but be right on the edge. And then I'm going to come through and put the binding on like you do normal binding. It suggests doing it so you fold it over like this. You put it on this way, and then fold it over. So that's how I'll do it. To match up my ends like I do with a quilt, which is, that looks so bad. Taking your two ends, overlap it by the size of the binding strip, which is 2.5 inches. And I always go about 1/4 inch in from that. My binding is on. I stitched in the ditch. The ugly is on the inside. It's not even that ugly, but the outside does look really good. So the bag itself is made. I even put a pocket on the inside, but I do not have any handles yet strapped. So that's where this comes in. So this is telling us to trim along here. Rotary cutter would make that go faster, right? Okay, these pieces right here get this on it. So each one has its own strip. Now what we're doing is we're taking this. First we're going to do is we're going to fold our edge end in about 1/2 inch, it says. I'm going to press it. This goes in there. And my strips, these are still with the fabric strips. I didn't cut them down. So, of course it's too long. But we don't go up the edge with it. We do go partway in, down a little bit, according to the picture. After we folded that down, coming down a little bit. So I'm just going to follow what it says. And folding it over. If they don't mate or they overlap in the middle, it is okay. It's going to be Just trying to hold those ends closed. Okay, I have those two done. Now we take this, and it said to make it a 2-inch strip. Oh, yeah. And they've already got them cut, so you have 2 strips here of your webbing. We're gonna do the same thing with this. So I did this one the way it says. And I'm pretty sure the reason why is so that when you stitch it on, you're not going through so much thickness. So I know I don't want to go through all that. A little bit of batting will be fine. Cut each strap to 30 inches. Right here is the 30. So what we're going to do is take this side face up, which would do good if you had some glue. I don't want to use my 505 because it will overspray. But then you take this side folded down. You cover it, and then you top stitch. Okay, my 2 straps are pinned together with their open sides facing each other. So on the inside, that's going to be all closed up. Change my thread. I'm going to do a top stitch on both sides of this. And since the end is already folded over, it's just a matter of attaching it to the bag. There, one of my straps is done. So I've got the darker green on the bottom and the lighter green on the top. And I got both ends that are enclosed. 2 straps. A bag. Now it says lay it flat. So 5 inches from each side. Wipe strap ends upside down on the tote with the short ends facing the tote. Opening, position 5 inches from outside edges to align short edges with bottom binding. Oh, so put it right up against that. You know, I would have put the strap on before I did the binding. That makes sense to me. Here we are. So that space that you left in there is so that you can stitch across here before you get into the webbing and stuff. Now, I have sewn it up here. I made a little box, made it about 1 inch long. Now it says to come back up and to tack it here. So we're going to do that. I've got this super reinforced. One done. It also says to do another stitch down here. I am going to skip that part because my machine, it's actually not my machine, it's the thread that I'm using, will not like all that thickness. And I reinforced it really good everywhere else. And it's on. Okay, let's do the other side. My bag is done. Straps are on. Inside we have a pocket, big pocket, and this is the Quilt As You Go project. Show me what you guys did with yours. Post to the Facebook group. All right, I am messing with my bag and doing different things to it. So the bag, because it's made with batting instead of stabilizer, doesn't have a lot of shape to it. And even though it's got this box bottom, I feel like it could use some body. So I am in the middle of adding this. So right where I want the seam to be, I'm just doing a teeny tiny little top stitch. So I've done one, and I'll let you watch me do the next one. So I'm eyeballing it, but you could be more precise. And you just start at the...
But being more precise is not the Lynne way.
It's not the Lynne way. It is so not the Lynne way. I guess I'll start up here. So I'm not going through the binding because I think it would look funny and it's too thick. So I'm starting just underneath it, and I think that would be just fine. And this is not meant to have strength, it's just to keep the box in shape. And honestly, I'm not even looking to see if I'm catching the lining. If I am, I am. If I'm not, it's not going to hurt anything. We'll see, I guess, after I do this, what's happening, because I didn't even think to check it. I don't think it matters, other than I'm curious what's happening in there. Okay, there's our second one. Again, let me show you what's happening at the top near the binding. I'm starting just below it. So I'm not even going through the binding because I do make it really bulky. Now, let's see what's happened on the inside. Oh, look at that. Some of it got picked up, some didn't. It doesn't hurt anything. Huh, I like it. And now I feel like my bag has a little more shape to it. Maybe what I could do is the same thing down here too. Make the whole thing really boxy. You know what I think I would do next time I make one of these? Is I would put stabilizer on the back side of the batting. Now that my bag is done, I felt like it needed more body to it because it's just batting, it's not stabilizer or foam or whatever. And so I went through and I did these tiny little tucks just to make a defined line. And the bag actually stands up a little better, has a little more shape to it, but I did not do it across the bottom, and I want to do that. So that's what I'm going to do right now, is just do these last two stitches across here. It's super easy. All you do is just line it up where you want it to go, corner to corner. Same with down here, corner to corner, and just do a super thin stitch. And don't worry about what you're grabbing. If you catch batting or the inner layer, it's on the inside and you're not going to see it, and it's not going to matter. And it's just going to be a bigger headache trying to get it in there. Unless you really want to, then I would make a bigger seam. There. Now I have a boxed bottom. It's still pretty floppy, but I feel like it has a real shape to it now. Anyway, let me show you what the corner looks like up close. Of course, you're seeing a big thread right there, but you just go right to the corner. I'm going to show you how to use these papers. This is the Crazy Quilt paper, and I'm going to cut my charm square up right here. Okay, so it says to take this and this with your words and numbers up and put it on here. First thing you do is it says cut first right there. We're going to do that. And that goes there. And cut second. I'm going to go through, cut my whole stack, and then I'm going to stack the pieces so all the same number are in the same pile. After you've cut them, take your paper off of here and stack them. So I've got my stacks just out of the camera view, but I'm keeping all the ones together, all the twos and all the threes. Here's a little hint for you. It does not take a lot of pressure to get that on there, and you don't need it sticking on there super good. You can't get it off. So just a quick iron over. You don't need to hold it or anything. It's not like it's fusible. So don't hold it. So I'm peeling the backing off of all these little papers. And I also found that when I was cutting them out, it was easier to stack them and then cut through them. And I am finding that these little papers are kind of clingy. So even though they're not on there like super strong, it's still it's a little bit of a pain to separate because they're clingy and every single piece has to be separated, right? So because I stacked them to cut into them, and this is a pain, I would have, if I hadn't thought about it, just stacked them and only put this on the top piece and then cut through, because all the others, it didn't matter. I didn't see what they were anyway. And then you can save your papers. You don't have as much time still with the backings off, and they're all going to be cut the same anyway. There's a tip for you. All right, so I'm going to show you the next step. Okay, you're going to take a 2 and a 3 of different fabrics. So I'm going to take this one and put, let's see, I still have this here, and this is really helpful to look at because I pulled the backings off. But this right here is number 2, and this is number 3, and 3 goes like this. And then you're going to take something from this pile that's completely different, and you're going to sew these two together first, and then you're going to sew them to that, and then you're going to square it up to 3.5 inches. And you're done. You're just going to make all your blocks different. So before you start sewing, it might be good to kind of pair things up and make sure you don't end up with 2 of the same color or 2 that are really similar in color, meaning even though these are different, they both read really dark. So play with it, but then you just put your blocks however you want. You can tumble them, you can put a sashing around them. You can make it be the center of just a big block. Anyway, this is your foundation for whatever you want to do with your quilt. And if you want to just do these blocks, you can do them in the same direction or turn them around. There's so many things you can do with it. Now I'm going to take a 2 and a 3 and match them up and just make pairs. And the only thing I care about is I don't want 2 of the same color value, meaning dark blues, and 2 of the same print in the same one. So I'm going to do my best to mix it up. And then after I've done that and I've pressed them open, I'm going to pair it with this before I start sewing anything and make sure that I'm able to get 3 complementary pieces before I start sewing and find myself at the very end where I can't make that happen. So that's my game plan. And so right now, so I'm just going to start grabbing them and stitching them. Other than I have to remember the angle of it. So I'm putting together this one and this one. And I think I need to make a sample. Maybe I'll make one. Let's see. The nice thing is there's pinked edges. That helps me find the outside. This is 4 1/4. It's just to make it 3.5. I see a lot of fabric here that I can use. So anyway, but that's my block, and that's going to help me lay my pieces out because I have that to look at. I have put all of my groupings together. So I'm to the point where I'm squaring my blocks up. So you sew your 2 and your 3 pieces together. You just have a pile of those, and then you put this on there. And I went through and I matched everything up to make sure I had contrasting fabrics. And I got my whole pile there. So I've gone through and I've cut or trimmed down about 2/3 of my pile. And when I'm done, my goal is to just join the blocks. So it's one big, fun, jumbled, tossy, turned, whatever. So that's all it is to this. It's super easy. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Well, hello, I am still here. And guess what? I sewed my blocks together. Not bad. Not very big though. 27 inches by 23. So what I'm doing right now is I'm cutting a 3-inch border. And I'm just going to border it with that just to give it something and make it a tiny bit bigger. And then I'm going to put it to the side. So I thought I'd show you what it's looked like if you don't do anything else with it. And I left these at 4 1/4 instead of 3.5 like it suggested because I was able to make blocks that big. And I think you could definitely make it bigger if you had sashing between each of them. But the fun part about this is just the fact that it is all topsy-turvy, crazy. So maybe 2 or 3 charm packs to make something bigger. Anyway, this is my finished project. I'll see you guys tomorrow.